There is an old Hindu proverb which states that there are 100 paths up the mountain, all leading in the same direction. If this is true, then there can be few better examples of how these paths seem to intersect than when two of the most different and yet popular religions met, leading to the formation of a unique school of thought which to this day stands out from those around it for its blending of disparate sets of belief into one. This clash was between the world of Buddhism and Islam, and its product was what we today call Sufism, which stands even now as one of the most well-known syncretisms of two extremely different ideals into one system of thought. Here we will take a look at the histories of these two groups, at their origins, their popularizations, their divisions, and finally their collision, a meeting which gave birth to the faith we now know as Sufism. The story of Sufism begins with the origins of Buddhism in the Indian city of Lumbini, circa 550 BCE. Here a former nobleman named Siddhartha Gautama, disillusioned with the myriad of methods of breaking free of samsara preached by yogis across ancient India, came to the decision that he would stop searching outwards for a path towards enlightenment, and instead begin to look inwards. And so the young man, emaciated from years of misbegotten asceticism, sat in the shade of a tree and began to meditate. From these simple beginnings rose the philosophy and religion which today is called Buddhism, and which is practiced in one form or another by over 300 million people worldwide. The Buddha himself claimed no divine inspiration when declaring his newfound road to nirvana, simply that all people are capable of attaining freedom from rebirth if they follow a simple path of moderation, which he referred to as the middle way. Thanks to this non-extreme philosophy, Buddhism quickly gained in popularity, becoming a major force in ancient India. But as with many other things, an increase in people meant an increasing number of often divergent opinions, and Buddhism quickly began to lose the unity of vision it once possessed. By the turn of the era, Buddhism had begun to show definite cracks in its doctrine. Around 200 BCE, the Mauryan Empire, led by Emperor Ashoka, worked to promulgate Buddhism throughout India and eventually exported it as far as Greece and Africa, along the way contributing to the building of monasteries and the publication of innumerable Buddhist texts. The spread of Buddhism was also aided by the development of the Silk Road between the Roman Empire and China, which arguably carried just as many new ideas and technologies as it did material goods. As the religions spread out across Asia and into parts of Europe, various groups began to put pieces of their own beliefs into the still young faith. Examples of these groups include the Madhyamaka school, founded by the philosopher Nagarjuna, and its later offshoot, the Yogacaran school, both of which attempted to further delineate the ideas of the Buddha through additional sutras. However, the largest division within Buddhism formed in the 1st century BCE, when a group known as the Mahayana Buddhists began to split from Buddhism at large. By the 2nd century CE, the rift between this newer school and the traditional Theravada doctrine had become so pronounced that at the 4th Great Council of Buddhism the two officially split, creating a division which stands to this day. This new tradition, Mahayana Buddhism, can most easily be described as a liberalization, often marked by an incorporation of local traditions and beliefs into an overall Buddhist worldview. For instance, many local deities were now turned into bodhisattva, a person who has attained enlightenment but refuses nirvana so that they may reincarnate to help others in their paths towards samsara. Also, this new sect brought forth the belief that all creatures, even animals, are capable of reaching nirvana. This led to an increased emphasis on Brahma-vihara philosophies of universal kindness and compassion, exemplified in the book Bodhicharyavatara, or The Way of the Bodhisattva, an 8th century text by Shantideva. This work also demonstrates the increased emphasis on ritual within the Mahayana tradition. These factors, combined with an increasing focus on esoteric philosophies, cosmologies, and other elements not present in the Buddha's original speeches, helped place Mahayana Buddhism apart from the older and more stable schools, including what we now know as Theravadan Buddhism. Meanwhile, the Mahayanan acceptance of local variations and customs assured its popularity. This eased Buddhism's acceptance abroad, allowing it to spread from India all over the world. Buddhism first touched the Middle East during Ashoka's reign, spread via the Silk Road's interaction with Arabic merchants. Eventually it made its way to Afghanistan, where during the 3rd century CE reign of Emperor Kanishka of the Kushan Empire, it became well entrenched alongside the various Iranian cults which pervaded the region at the time. Afghanistan eventually blossomed into a major center of extra-Indian Buddhism. Thanks to Alexander the Great's earlier introduction of Hellenistic culture to the region, Buddhism experienced an artistic boom as well, leading to the development of the first artistic representations of the Buddha, which had before been banned. Buddhism would spread from Afghanistan throughout the region and into the heart of the Persian Empire, where the many local deities could be easily transformed into bodhisattva. Buddhism retained its position as one of the primary religions of the area for centuries, until the rise of a new prophetic religion led to its eventual decline, the religion of Muhammad, Islam.
سبحان الكريم الفتاح سبحان مسخر الرياح.
Islam began, much like Buddhism, with a single man's personal revelation. In Islam, that man was Muhammad, a member of an influential family in Meccan trade. However, whereas the Buddha considered his realizations wholly internal, Muhammad claimed his were delivered by the angel Gabriel in a cave outside the city around the year 610 CE. Muhammad's preachings were later collected by his followers into the Quran, a book which remains today the sole revealed holy text of Islam and is considered the literal word of God in written form. An Abrahamic religion, Islam descended from Judaism and Christianity and contains elements of and references to both, most importantly in its focus on strict monotheism. For this stance against the many local gods of the area, Muhammad was eventually thrown out of Mecca and traveled to Medina in 622, a journey called the Hijrah, which forms the basis of the Muslim calendar and is still undertaken today as part of the mandatory Islamic pilgrimage. 2 years later, in 624, Muhammad returned with hundreds of new converts, took over Mecca, and in one of the most influential events in world history, went into the sacred Kaaba shrine and smashed the idols of the Arabic pagan gods. This event marks the very beginning of the Islamic Empire, an empire which would later spread to become one of the most powerful in world history. However, as with Buddhism, this rapid expansion created tensions within the region, and once again we see a faith begin to tear itself into pieces under the strain of internal politics. The dividing of Islam began in 632 with Muhammad's death. His followers, desiring a new leader for their young religion and embryonic empire, formed into two camps. Those who believed that Muhammad's early follower, Abu Bakr, handpicked by Muhammad, should take over for his mentor, and those who believed that the leadership should be strictly lineage-based and remain with Muhammad's descendants. Eventually, Abu Bakr's camp, the Sunni, won out, and he was declared the first Caliph of Islam. However, the opposing group, the Shia, rejected the leadership of Bakr, as well as the next two Caliphs. Under this division, the Shia became the more liberal of